Disney's audio animatronics are among the best in the world, but sometimes they're so real that they tend to scare guests. Actually, some rides have been so scary because of their animatronics that they had to close down. Here are some of the scariest Disney Parks Audio-Animatronics.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
Snow White's Adventures: The Wicked Queen. Snow White's ride has had many refurbishments over the years. It first opened in 1955 in Disneyland as Snow White and Her Adventures.
Open the Fantasyland Castle!
As we've said before, in early Disney dark rides, the guests were meant to take on the role of the protagonist. So of course when the ride opened, Snow White was nowhere to be found. And that's one of the reasons why the ride quickly gained a reputation for being a little spooky. After all, a Snow White ride without Snow White left only dark forests, a vengeful queen seeking her heart, poison apples prepared in grimy dungeons, and spooked woodland creatures. Then in 1971, Magic Kingdom opened, and with it another Snow White ride. It was called Snow White's Adventures, and this time, Imagineers decided they would make the ride deliberately frightening. Again, Snow White was nowhere to be found. Instead, loud noises, jump scares, sudden crashing sounds, unexpected flashes, and glowing figures coming within inches of the ride vehicle were what this ride was made of. In this version of the ride, we got to see the Wicked Queen over and over. We also saw the dwarfs once, but that was it. The horrifying witch appeared in the swamp, racing toward us, her screaming mad laughter paralyzing. She was also in the dwarves' mine, pushing over the supports above us to cause a cave-in. Then as we entered the mine's gem-filled caverns, it seemed that this colorful finale would end some of the tension. But nope, the queen was here again, pushing a gigantic gem from a lofty cavern and down onto us. And with a flash of light, we were dead. The end. Yep, as you can see, this ride was really scary. It was so scary that it eventually closed down for refurbishment in 1994. Still, the ride was open for more than 20 years. When the ride reopened, it was called Snow White's Scary Adventures, in line with the name used for the ride in Disneyland after its 1983 refurb. And it was much less scary than the ride that had come before. It was still dark and a bit frightening, but at least we survived in the end. Countdown to Extinction in Dinosaurs: The Carnotaur.
It is going to be the biggest and most ambitious theme park that we have ever built.
When Animal Kingdom was about to be opened, a team of Imagineers was hard at work on the concept of a land dedicated to dinosaurs. But the cost of the park kept going higher and higher, and the company was having some economic problems at this time because of the disastrous opening of Euro Disney. This land was almost cut from the park to instead fund Beastly Kingdom. When this team of Imagineers saw that their land was about to be cut, they made Michael Eisner a deal he couldn't refuse. They promised that they could cheaply double dip from the technology developed for the brand new Indiana Jones Adventure ride, simply restaging the ride as a thrilling prehistoric adventure. The result was Countdown to Extinction, a wild off-roading adventure in the very last moments of the Cretaceous period where we had to locate an iguanodon and save it from extinction. One problem? One very mean, very terrifying Carnotaur. A really frightening predator with a mean roar, a pair of wild eyes, and a surprisingly fast sprint. The Carnotaurus is loud, ugly, and intense, with 3 progressively louder, meaner, and bigger animatronic figures. We encounter this animatronic 4 times. The first time is when the Time Rover's computer thinks it's found the iguanodon, but actually, it's the Carnotaurus. Here he roars at the riders, but we safely get away. In the second encounter, lightning flashes to reveal the Carnotaurus. As he runs towards the guests, the Time Rover flees. After turning left and right many times to avoid meteor strikes, the Carnotaurus is encountered again, rearing to its full height and roaring loudly. Luckily, the riders and the Time Rover escape. The last encounter is just seconds before the killer asteroid hits the Earth. The Carnotaurus lunges at the guests just as they make it through to the present day, as the asteroid marks the extinction of the dinosaurs, including the Carnotaurus. Expedition Everest, the Yeti. Expedition Everest is one of the tallest, fastest, and wildest roller coasters in all Disney parks, and it's arguably also one of the scariest.
This is the Forbidden Mountain Range, so everything is sharp, it's spooky, very scary type of...
On board, guests are seated in trains once used to transport tea leaves down from the mountain and make way for base camp at Everest via a new shortcut through the Forbidden Mountain Pass. Things don't go as planned. What follows is intense. A forward and backward roller coaster through the pitch-black innards of the peak, an 80-foot dive, and a face-to-paw encounter with the dreaded mountain guardian, Yeti. The Yeti is 25 foot tall and weighs 10 tons. It has 19 axes of motion that allowed it to move as much as a real creature as it could. Actually, its biggest selling point was its status as Disney's most advanced audio animatronic to date.
This Yeti is the single biggest dynamic figure that has ever been built. There is nothing that is this big, that moves this fast in the world of animation. It's really pretty cool.
The Yeti was able to swing out 5 feet and drop 18 inches in a simulated attack on the roller coaster train each time it zoomed through the mountain's core. The Yeti was the main attraction in the ride, but sadly, after just a year of operation, it stopped being 100% functional when its framing split, and so the Yeti was changed to B mode, where it barely moves. To help it look like it's moving much more than it really is, a strobe light is used. This is what caused the Yeti to be nicknamed Disco Yeti, actually. If you want to learn more about this, check out our Disco Yeti video. Maybe the Yeti's not 100% functional, but nobody can deny that it's still one of the scariest animatronics. Phantom Manor's Phantom Ravenswood and Skeletons. While planning Euro Disneyland, Tony Baxter decided that certain staple Disney attractions would have to be modified for the new park. The Haunted Mansion was among these, and was given a darker tone than the original attraction. But when we say a darker tone, we really mean a darker tone. Phantom Manor tells the story of the miserly Mr. Ravenswood, proprietor of the Big Thunder Mountain Mining Company, and his beautiful daughter Melanie. When Melanie fell for a lowly miner, Mr. Ravenswood vowed to stop their wedding if it was the last thing he ever did. And it was. Upon his death, a mysterious phantom appeared, hanging Melanie's fiancé from the rafters and fracturing the once grand home from the rest of Thunder Mesa, cursing Melanie's spirit to forever wait for her lost love. It's difficult to talk about a particularly scary animatronic in this ride because there are so many. As soon as we exit Melanie's bedroom, Phantom Ravenswood is waiting with a grave he dug for us to fall down into. You would think that we're about to visit the happy haunts, but forget about it. Here we sink into the earth where we find dislodged wooden coffins with bony, decaying hands reaching out. All around us, rotting corpses begin to arise from their resting places, disturbed by our presence. Perhaps one of the scariest animatronics in this ride is the last version of Phantom Ravenswood, where he appears to have lost any humanity he might have had left. He's a rotting, revolting, decaying corpse that can scare even the bravest guests. Cinderella Castle Mystery Tour's The Horned King. Cinderella Castle Mystery Tour opened at Tokyo Disneyland on July 11th, 1986. This walkthrough attraction was supposed to give us a tour of the castle featuring the gallery, ballroom, dining room, guest room, and the tower, with the cast members serving as their tour guide. But instead, the Wicked Witch's magic mirror appeared, and feeling insulted by the villains being put down, and explains that no hero is complete without a villain, so it opens a secret door containing a passage to a dark stairway. This leads to a concealed underground area of the castle, and you're challenged as a guest to see how strong you are in challenging the forces of evil. Along the tour, we encountered many scenes featuring famous Disney villains like Chernabog and Maleficent, but the scariest part of this attraction was the final scene, featuring a large animatronic of the Horned King from the Black Cauldron movie, who threatens to kill us and use the cauldron to make us join his army. The Horned King audio animatronic feature was one of the more sophisticated figures in existence at the time. A guest was chosen as the brave representative to carry the Sword of Light against the Horned King, and when he appeared, the guest used the sword to vanquish him. Sadly, this attraction closed on April 5th, 2006. It looks like we've run out of time, and there's still so many more animatronics to cover, so I guess we'll have to have a second part to this video. But for the time being, which of these animatronics do you think is the scariest? Any animatronics you would like to see featured in the next video? Let us know in the comments. We also wanted to let you know that our friends at the Yield Prop Shop are having a pre-holiday sale, so go check out their awesome signs and be sure to use the code FASTFACTS10OFF so you can get 10% off from your next purchase.